There are lots of long-term benefits to children attending our pre-K program in Conroe ISD. One of them is they're learning how to be a great member of the community. So they're learning how to help others thrive, not only themselves. We've made learning safely fun in pre-K, which is just amazing.
They wear their mask and they know how to keep a safe distance from each other.
In kindergarten, we build on those skills, learning to work independently, which goes into first grade, second grade, and throughout their school years.
These kids are getting ahead socially by coming to school. They are learning how to listen. They're learning how to take turns and stand in line. They're learning how to ask for help, and they're learning how to make good choices.
Well, good evening, Conroe ISD family. Thank you for joining us tonight for our October 7th update. What a great way to start tonight's event, to see those smiling children's faces and to hear from our wonderful teachers. Thank you for being a part of this and allowing us to come into your home tonight. Hope that you are all well. Hope this finds both you and your family well this evening and that things are going your way at home for you. We were asked by a lot of people, will we continue this after COVID, after we've had all the special news and the big breaking news all the time that we seem to always come to you with on YouTube Live? Would we continue this? And I think we will. This is, I believe, a new tradition for Conroe ISD, that we will take these opportunities for us just to come together and have this type of conversation where we can bring information directly to you. Even when there's not big breaking news, and there is no big breaking news tonight. So for those of you that get a little anxious when you see these postings of these events and you think, oh no, what's next? Tonight's not one of those nights. This is not a no what's next night. There's a lot of good news to share tonight, a lot of celebrations. So there's so much that we can be thankful for and proud of right now as a community, as a school district, and we're going to talk about some of those things, and we'll give some details about how we'll move forward into the next 9 weeks. But really, there's so much good news, and it's nice to be able to come together and share that with you. Now, the last time we got together was way back on August 24th, and so much has changed since August 24th. It seems like it's a lifetime ago. Since that day, we've began our ramp up plan and brought students into school slowly, and then we brought everybody back, and we've been able to do it so successfully, and we'll talk about that. But through all the change, there are a few things that have not changed, and our basic tenets that we've been talking about as a school district in a community for the last 6 months have not changed. And I'll just repeat them for you because we've repeated them on every one of these updates, and I'll repeat them again today. Number one, kindness, hope, and positivity matter. Okay, those things all make a difference. Anything can and likely will change. I think if we've learned anything in the last few months, we have learned that absolutely. Flexibility and grace are important, and we need to be able to be flexible and to offer grace to everyone around us as we're all dealing with a lot of different things during this time. And finally, for us and our decision-making process, what drives us is that want to protect our community and to protect the school year. And all decisions, make sure that we are making those decisions that allow us to keep people safe and keep our schools open. Because for many of you, you want our schools open. But for a lot of you, you need our schools to be open. And we feel that responsibility, and we want to do all that we can to keep our schools open so that you can go on with your life and you can go to work and you can do the things that you need to do, knowing that your children are in great care and they're receiving a great education. And I'm proud to tell you tonight, and I want to congratulate you, that's exactly what we are doing as a community. Tonight we are on the eve of the last day of our first grading period. The first 9 weeks will be completed tomorrow, and congratulations to you all, students, parents, teachers alike, for completing the first 9 weeks. It's really remarkable. It is not perfect. It is not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it is working. Y'all, it is working, and I'm so proud of everyone that it takes to make it work. We continue to try to refine. We have some of our in-school learners will receive feedback that we feel like we're giving too much deference to our online learners, and some of our online learners feel like we're giving too much deference to the in-school learners. And I know we're wearing our teachers out, and yet somehow we're making it all happen. We're getting better each and every single day, and we're making it work. And so congratulations to you. I'll tell you that I'm so proud, and you've probably watched over the months of this. We've talked about me having optimism, and I told you in August 24th that I really felt comfortable and confident in what we were going to do, and I really thought it was going to work. And it wasn't a false confidence or just trying to hype myself up or hype you up. It was what I truly felt. And then here we are today doing it, making it through the first 9 weeks and looking ahead to the future and feeling more and more confident about our protocols, about our practices, and about our prospects for moving forward. And so we say thank you. We're so proud of you. And beyond the fact that we're just making it happen, each and every day becomes more and more normal in our schools. Now, there are safety protocols that will never change, and yet, or not change in the near future at least. We have to do those things to keep our schools open, but every day feels more normal in our schools. And kids are back to normal activities, and they're doing those things that they love, and that feels really good. And one of the ways that I find that helps me deal with stress is to really stop occasionally and think about the things that make me happy. And to not just focus on all the problems of the world and everything that's going wrong, but focus on things that are going right. And so we have weekly principal meetings, and they're on Zoom right now. We don't get a chance to get in the room together. We wouldn't want to take that chance of anybody being ill and quarantining all of our principals at one time. So we do them on Zoom. And one of the challenges that I've given over the last few weeks to principals was share with me something that brings you joy. And the first time I asked that, honestly, they all just kind of looked at me a little bit. And I said, no, I want you to really think about what is bringing you joy right now. And I challenge you at home to think about that. What is bringing you joy in your family's life right now? I know there's a lot of things that may not be, and they get a lot of attention. They get a whole lot of attention on TV. They get a whole lot of attention in our worry. But what's happening that does bring you joy? And are you intentionally seeking those things out? And so I asked that of principals, and I heard amazing things, but I wanted to share with them what was bringing me joy, and I'll share that with you tonight. And first and foremost, it's very easy. It's having children back in the schools. For me to go out on campus visits, and I try to do that almost every day, to be into buildings and into classrooms, watching children, loving what they're doing, interacting with their peers, interacting with their teachers, watching our great professional teachers do what they do what they love doing, and watching them change the world one child at a time, that brings me joy. And I will tell you, in our buildings, they feel very normal. Do they look a little different because children are in face masks, and we, as a staff, we're in face masks, and I am too? Yes, they do look a little different. For me, the challenge is, can I keep my glasses from fogging up as I'm wearing my face mask? That's the biggest challenge. But to watch them learning and growing and just being a part of the process brings me immense joy every time I get the chance to do it. The second thing for me that really brings me joy is to watch kids doing what they love to do. And when you think on the secondary level, you start to think about extracurricular activities. And we are back with extracurricular activities. And we had a lot of conversations throughout the summer. Would we really get to that point where we could have a Friday night football game? And we are there. We are actually having Friday night football games, which is much more than a football game, right? That's a community event. It's JROTC marching those flags proudly across the field. And it's student trainers taking care of the athletes. It's the football players playing. It's the cheerleaders cheering, and the bands and the drill team and the student sections and the parents. It's the community coming together. And we are able to do that. And being present at those events brings me a lot of joy. You can sense and feel our community and the love that we have for our kids when you enter those stadiums. Now, a few things are different this year with athletics. We can't have a full stadium. We have to limit our capacity. And so we don't focus on the negatives, we're going to focus on the positives, but we are able to have 40 to 50% of people in. And so we've created a new ticketing system that allows for electronic tickets. We have no paper transfer of tickets, and we're able to give first priority to the parents of the kids that are involved. So it's not just the players, but all those other student groups that we talked about. And then we allow our senior students at the school to buy their tickets so that they can be a part of that and have a senior year. And then finally, we're able to open it up to the community, and we'll sell as many tickets as we can to the community because we want you all to be there. We understand that those Friday night lights and being at a football game, they're a part of Texas, and you want to be there. But unfortunately, everybody can't be there. But here's another bit of good news. The UIL has never allowed us to stream football games on Friday night or live broadcast in any way on Friday night. It's just been against the rules. Well, that's a positive that's come out of this, is they've changed that rule. And so now we can stream all those events on our YouTube channel. So you obviously know how to get to our YouTube channel. You're here now. But if you go to our main YouTube channel, you'll see our two sub-channels down below. One for Moorhead Stadium and one for Wood Forest Stadium. So if you click on the Wood Forest Stadium link, you will see, and you'll go and you will see that we have the videos up for every game that has occurred at Moorhead or at Wood Forest Stadium on this channel. And you can go back and watch them at any time, which is really great. But you can also watch them live. And this is truly a blessing because you may have loved ones out of state that were never going to get a chance to come watch your son or daughter march in that marching band at halftime. And yet you can send them the link to our YouTube channel now and they can watch it live. Or if they're not available on Thursday or Friday or Saturday, whenever the game may be, you can send them the link to the video and say, hey, at the 1 hour and 27-minute mark, you're going to get to watch your granddaughter or grandson march in the marching band. Watch this video. That's amazing. And we've never had that opportunity before, and that brings me a lot of joy. So there's a lot of ways to celebrate and enjoy what's going on campus through athletics, and that we've never had the chance to do. Now, we've also had some celebrations over the last week that bring me joy. And the first one was at the end of last week, last Friday, we celebrated Custodian Appreciation Day. And I'm telling you, we should have a month or year. There's not enough days in the year to celebrate our custodians. The work that they do all the time to keep our buildings beautiful, well-maintained, and clean for our students every day, it's always been important. But in today's world, their job is so important. I'll remind you, we've talked about this over and over again, but we clean our buildings every night in Conroe ISD as if we got the report of a positive case in that building every single day. We come through with the fogging machine and we clean that building just as we would if we had a positive case. A lot of districts will talk about closing a school because they had a positive case because they want to clean it. We clean all 64 campuses every single night as if we had a positive case. It's our custodians that do that. It's our custodians that are in the buildings all day long. You see them and know them, and you know your day crew typically as parents, and you love them. They're a part of the family. But then there's a whole other crew that comes in at night that you may not know that help to get the building cleaned up and ready again for the next day. So hopefully you had a chance last week to celebrate your custodians, but I say tonight, thank you to all of our custodians. The work that you do, we're so impressed and we're so thankful. The second thing that we had to celebrate was earlier this week, we had World Teacher Day. And what a time to celebrate teachers. What we are asking teachers to do right now is really borderline impossible. We're asking them to maintain and have great teaching strategies for those students that are in front of them in the classroom, while at the same time offer great instructional opportunities for students that are at home. Try to keep those things even so that no students feel like they're getting left behind, and at the same time have a myriad of paperwork to try to maintain attendance records and everything else for both those students in front of them and behind them. And they're doing it beautifully. So I would just tell you, if you have a teacher in your life, there is a teacher that you love, maybe it's a family member, it's a son or daughter or mom or dad, just a friend of the family, or just your own children's teachers, now is the time to love on your teachers in your life, okay? To tell them thank you, to recognize them for the work that they're doing. I think we all wish that we could find ways to take burden off of them, and we are looking for ways in the school district, but the heaviest burdens they carry are ones that we just can't remove right now. So all we can really do is try to support them and let them know that we see them, we appreciate them, and we're going to continue to support them in all that they're doing. And so we celebrate World Teacher Day, we celebrate our teachers, what a great job they do. And then finally, we received news that our very own Barbara Robertson, you've met Miss Robertson, she's been with me on, I think maybe our first or second one of these updates. She is our coordinator of health services. So she is basically our lead nurse that leads all of our great nurses throughout Conroe ISD. She was recognized as the Texas School Nurses Organization 2020 School Nurse Administrator of the Year. And that is amazing. We're very proud for Barbara. We're proud of her. It should also bring you great comfort as parents to know that we have such great leadership leading our health services in the school district. We have the best of the best leading our nurses. And she not only leads our nurses, but she guides all of us through safety protocols. She is our communicator with the public health department. So we're thankful to have her. We're thankful to have all of the nurses doing what they do. And so when you look at the combination of great custodians keeping the building clean, wonderful teachers who are doing all that they can to teach children every day, at the same time enforcing all of the safety protocols that need to be done, and then leadership throughout the district like Barbara Robertson, who are creating protocols and structures that allow us to be safe. This is how we are able to do what we're doing. We have all these wonderful people that are working so hard every day to allow us to be in school, allow us to stay safe, and we've done it, I would say, really better than most. I hear all these stories of other school districts, many in our area, that are quarantining tons of children because they're not following safety protocols. You see news stories about districts that are having to close schools because of so many positive cases, and we're not there. And that's not to say that it can't happen to us, because it can. We're not above that, but we continue to do all the little things that are not easy, and they're really hard, but we do them because it's worth it to keep our buildings open. And so we're really proud of that. And what we have seen in our schools, we have had positives in our schools. That is true. That's going to happen. There are positive cases in our community. Those positive cases, they show up in our schools. So we have had positive cases. But what we have not seen spread in our schools. And that's been very comforting. And the reason for that is because we're following those protocols. So a student may show up to school positive, but they have not given it to other students within their class. When we look at our contact tracing, most of our students that have had a positive test, it turns out that they've contracted the virus somewhere outside of school, meaning at home. And most of our students that are on quarantine, that we've had to put on quarantine, they're on quarantine because there's some type of familial positive test, meaning someone in their house has tested positive, and that's forced the student to go into quarantine. We have really not had to quarantine very many students in Conroe ISD. In our first couple of weeks, especially with our younger students as they were learning how to wear masks, our kinders through first grade, we did have to quarantine a couple of classes because they had not yet mastered wearing masks. They had positive cases, and it did cause a little bit of spread in the classroom, but that has really gone away as our students and teachers have been able to transition into wearing masks in the classroom. So we're doing the things that are allowing us to not only stay open as a school district, but keep every kid in school, and that's wonderful. Now, those strategies, they're working, but we can't get complacent and we can't get comfortable, right? We have to continue with them. We're at a point now, we talked on August 24th about our youngest students, giving them time to transition in to mask. And we're at that point now where those masks are expected for all of our students where it's developmentally appropriate. And they're doing a great job with it. When I go into campuses and go into classrooms, it's a non-issue. The teachers do a wonderful job with that as they do with everything. So, but we can't get comfortable. Now is not the time to say, well, see, it's all fine, we can just relax. Because if we relax on our safety protocols now, then we will see all those spikes. We will see schools get closed. And so we must remain diligent even when we might want to begin to get comfortable. We have to keep pushing forward and following all our strategies at all times. Now, we do have our dashboard, and hopefully you're able to access that. This comes straight off of the Conroe ISD website, and you can see our dashboard here. The top two graphs are very telling. First, there's some FAQs and some cumulative numbers there at the top. Then our first two graphs show you positive cases, and so you can toggle between students and staff on the positive cases. Once again, what we're seeing is most of those positive cases are originating outside of school, so they're not becoming positive at school. They're picking it up somewhere in the community. We still have our partnership with the Montgomery County Hospital District where they're able to do rapid testing on our teachers and staff. That's been a wonderful partnership for us and allowed us to get them back quickly. And it lets us know that our data is really strong on our employee positives. Now, the reality is on student positives, we don't do student testing, so we rely on the information that comes to us. So if we don't know for sure, there may be students that were positive that never got tested. That's a reality of what goes on. Now, that second graph that we see on our dashboard talks about the number of students that are isolated or in quarantine, the same with our employees. And once again, what we're seeing there is students that are in quarantine, those are the students that they've been in contact with a known positive case. For the most part, that's been somebody at home, an away from school contact. And so that's why they're put into quarantine. And in students in isolation, they may be students that have tested positive, but the much more common piece of that is just a student that may have a symptom. Well, as parents, we all know that children get sick. That's just part of what happens. They get tummy aches, they get headaches, that they get a cough or a runny nose. That just happens. It's going to happen more and more as we move through this fall season. So when they can't come to school because they have symptoms that could be COVID, they count into that bar. So that bar sometimes looks high, but the reality is in any given year, we have 5% of our students out on any given day due to illness. So that's not different this year than it would be any other year. So the dashboard is there for you. Hopefully you'll take advantage of that and you enjoy looking at that just to help you know more of what's going on. As I've shared with you before, that's the exact data that I see. So you see it when I see it. It's updated twice daily, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. So you can go in and watch that real time, just as all of us here within the school district monitor that data. Now, as we look ahead to next 9 weeks, we'll wrap up this 9 weeks this week, and next week, coming off a long weekend, we will start our second 9 weeks. And what we are witnessing in the school district is really about what we expected. We are seeing a strong flow of students that started the year as online learners flowing back into our classrooms for the second 9 weeks. Right now, we are at about 68% of our students in person, 32% online. We have a net of around 4,100 students, 4,100 students that are going to be moving from remote learning to face-to-face learning for next 9 weeks. So they will start back to school next week. That's over 4,000 students that are going to make that change. So that's significant. We'll be happy to welcome them back. There are those new procedures, and we encourage you to have conversations with your school if you want to make sure that you understand new car rider procedures, parents, before you engage in that very first day of school. So for all of us as employees, as staff members, we need to be aware that on on Tuesday of next week for 4,000 kids. It's going to be their first day, or more than 4,000, will be their first day in school. And that's bigger than most school districts in Texas, that number of children. So that will be a very significant day, and we'll make the adjustments that we need to make, but we'll be glad to have you back with us. The other thing that we are seeing that we expected and we're really happy about is we have a lot of children enrolling in Conroe ISD. It may be people that are moving in. It might be people that were just kind of waiting to see how this was going to go. Is it going to be safe or not? They didn't want to be out in front, and now they are seeing that our schools are functioning very well. They're hearing from their neighbors that their children are being successful, and they are now enrolling their kids in school. In just the last 7 days, we've had over 250 kids enroll into Conroe ISD. And the message here is it's not too late to enroll. You saw the video as we opened up tonight's event, really focused on pre-K and kindergarten, but this is a pre-K through 12. It's not too late to enroll. You can get enrolled in school. We can welcome you back, get you settled in, get you caught up if you weren't engaged in the first 9 weeks, but we want you here. Don't give up on the school year now, especially pre-K and kindergarten. We have noticed that that's where we are the lightest. That's where we seem to have the most students that didn't enroll this year. So we would love to have your children here to get a quality early childhood education so that they are prepared to be readers and prepared to begin working in math and all those things that need to happen in the socialization aspect of pre-K and kinder as well. So it's not too late. Reach out to your neighborhood campus. We can get you enrolled. Tomorrow is the last day of the 9 weeks. We are still open on Friday, even though it is a student holiday. So the campuses will be open. So if you need to enroll, you can make that phone call tomorrow. They can get appointments set up with you. If you have friends or neighbors, please share this with them. Now is a great time to come back. Certainly you can enroll at any time, but this is a beautiful window. It's a perfect time. So many other students are coming back to campus for the first time next week that it won't be overwhelming for any new student. It's actually a wonderful time to be a new student because you'll be supported by a lot of other people. So this is a great window if you are considering enrolling and coming back. Now, you may have heard parents about some of the smaller school districts in the state have begun to close their remote learning option for students. They're now forcing all students back in person. We are not going to do that in Conroe ISD. We've made a pledge to you that you had this opportunity to have online learning throughout the year, and we will hold true to that pledge to you. Now, the reality is there may be some changes. There may be schedule changes. There may be teacher changes that are occurring because we do have 4,000 students transitioning from remote now back to in-person. The principals have to make teacher adjustments to make sure that we can teach those students in person as well. So there might be slight adjustments to schedules and those things, but we will continue with our remote option. Now, we have a lot of students that are in the remote option that are doing really very well. They're thriving. It seems to be the appropriate or an appropriate way for them to learn. They're doing really well with it. The reality is we also have some students that are not engaging and they're not being successful. When we look, they're failing a lot of courses. And for those students, that remote option will be taken away. And parents, I would encourage you, if you haven't been monitoring your children's grades, to go in and do that. I've talked to a few parents that have said, you know, I see them get on their laptop every night. I assume they're doing well. But then they pull open their grades and they're seeing 30s and 40s and 50s in classes, which means they're not doing their work. They may be on their computer, but they're not doing their work or they're not doing quality work. And for those students, we need them back. We can't waste this school year with them not being engaged at home or not getting the support they need. So you may hear from your campus if your student is not doing well. You'll see the report card that will be coming following this first 9 weeks. But if they're not being successful, we need to really work to either find a plan to make them successful at home, or let's get them back into school so that we don't lose this whole first semester of learning because they're not engaged. Now, attendance has been one of those things that we're tracking as well. We want students to be present every day, whether they're face-to-face or they're remote learners. We've learned that attendance is very difficult. in this situation. It is a heavy burden on our teachers as they try to track both those students that are in front of them every day and those students that are at home. For our face-to-face learners, we've mentioned to you in the past that when you have to be absent from face-to-face, you can go online and be counted as remote present on a day that you are absent. Now, the intention of that is not for our face-to-face students just to choose to take a day off. That is not effective. It's not a good way to learn, and it is causing a heavy burden on our teachers. And every minute they spend having to track that is a minute that they can't provide great lessons to either the face-to-face or the remote learners. If you're a face-to-face learner and you're sick, we don't want you to come to school sick. We don't want you to bring anything to school. So if that happens, you need to communicate to your school that you are going to be out that day because you are ill, and then they will give you that permission to be a remote learner for that day, and you can get your attendance counted so that you're not counted absent. But just to choose to take off on any given day is not an option for a face-to-face learner. You're still expected to be at school unless you're sick or you have a doctor's appointment or different things that may come up in your life. But it's not simply just to take a day off or to take a vacation. For those of you that are remote, the same situation. You need to enroll, or you need to engage every single day and do work every single day in the system in order for us to be able to give you credit for being in attendance. Now, our attendance data for remote learners lags one day because students have the option of completing something all the way up until 11:59. So we can't possibly take attendance for Monday until Tuesday, and so then we can't necessarily report it until Tuesday or Wednesday. So if you have remote learners, know that our attendance data lags by a day. We are working on systems that we can call, just as we would traditionally if a student was absent, that we would call and say, hey, your student was absent on a given day. We're working on that option for our remote learners as well. But just a reminder, it will lag by a day. So we wouldn't be calling you on Monday to say your student hasn't done anything Monday. We'd be calling you Tuesday to say your student didn't do anything on Monday. So we're working on that. Now, it's important that we all remember that all attendance laws are still in effect. So compulsory attendance from the state they have not backed off on that. Students must be in attendance. You have to be in attendance 90% of the time to get credit for a course. So you could have an A in your English 1 class in high school, but if you don't meet the attendance requirement, you will not get credit. It'll be just like you failed the course. So attendance is really important. The state has not backed off the laws or the regulations that are tied to students and the expectations of students and families, or on the expectations that are tied to school districts. So attendance is a very important thing. Let's shift now to talk about weather a little bit. I started making this list 3 or 4 days ago, and I didn't think that we would have another hurricane in the Gulf to talk about, but we do. But let's talk about our last hurricane, Hurricane Laura. We did miss a few days of school with that, and so we had Laura. We've had there's a line of them, but we did miss a few days of school early on. But we will not have to make those days up. Okay, so the TEA did provide us with a waiver, so we will not make up the days that were lost. But any future days, we could be in a position to have to make those up, so we have to take that into account. Now, right now we have Hurricane Delta in the Gulf. All the projections are showing it making that right-hand turn and traveling off to our east, and that should be a good thing for us and keep us out of the line of fire. One of the things that we do want to remember is when the last hurricane went that direction, Hurricane Laura went that direction, it did cause power problems for us, even here in Montgomery County, because a lot of our power comes from East Texas and Louisiana. So while we may not get hit by the storm, we still have to watch the power. We'll just be aware of that and make sure that we don't have those problems. But one of the things that I don't think we've ever really talked about, because we haven't had a mechanism to do it like this, is how is a decision made to close schools? How does that work? Who makes the decision? How is it made? Why would we do it? Why don't we do it faster? So let's talk a little bit about that. The decision to close school is a very difficult one because it affects so many people's lives. You think about 66,000 students and 8,500 employees that are affected. we want to have school every day. We value school days. We understand how important they are to the education of a child. We also understand how important it is for you to know that your child has a safe place to go on any given day. And when we cancel school, all of a sudden we have families that have to find a safe place for their children to be during the day. The other reality is when we close school, we have a lot of children that don't get to eat that day. They are counting on the meals that are provided at school for their sustenance for the day. And so we also know we're taking that away. One of the other factors that happens for us here in Conroe ISD to consider is our size. We're 348 square miles. So it's not uncommon for us, because we're so big, to have one section or one portion of our school district that is being affected by a weather event, be it ice or a flood or whatever it may be, or a power outage, when the rest of the district is really seeing no effects whatsoever. So all of those things come into effect. Well, who makes the decision? That's me. I make the decision on if we close school or if we have school open. Now, I don't make that decision in isolation. We have great teams internally and externally that we work with. But let's just think about a weather event, be it ice or flood or whatever it may be, tropical system. We have internal teams, our operation teams, that monitor our buildings every day, and then they report back. Our CISD police begin running the roads, and they run the roads all night long and send me every hour, me and the team, an update on what roads are impassable in Conroe ISD. And they'll send those every hour. Typically, if it's an event that we know is occurring, at 4 o'clock the day before, I will have a conference call with all of the other superintendents in the greater Houston area, and we will have the National Weather Service on that call. We'll hear directly from the meteorologist, the guy that you see on TV all the time. He comes in and he speaks directly to us as well. So we'll get that information. If we know at that point that we need to make a decision, we will make the decision as early as possible. So if it's possible at that moment, we know we need to close, we try to do that. Believe me, it brings us no joy to wait till the last minute to close. But the earlier we make a decision, the more likely our decision is to be wrong, because we love weather people, but they're not always right. So if we know that decision, we'll make it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We typically have another phone call at 9 p.m. So I will get on another call and get more updated information at 9 p.m. Once again, if we know at that point that it's time to close school, we will. And we'll make that announcement then, and we'll get it on the 10 o'clock news so that you know going to bed that we will close. But if we're still unable to make that decision, we go into the overnight hours, and that's where hourly I'll get those updates from our police. I typically will get on a conference call at 3 a.m., once again with the weather service, and get the update at 3 a.m. And then from there, it's a tracking and monitoring. We work not only with the weather service out of Houston, but we work with our Montgomery County Office of Emergency Management, and we are in constant communication with those folks, and they help give us guidance. They don't make the decision to close our schools, but they give us the guidance that would tell us if we need to or if they feel like we're going to be okay. Typically, we can make a decision by 5 o'clock in the morning. That's our goal. We had a weather situation last year that everyone told us at 5 o'clock we were fine, and then at 6 o'clock it changed so dramatically that they called us back and said, we don't think you're fine, and we had to make a late call. Not something that we wanted to do, but the information we received at 5 o'clock was telling us it was okay. So anything can happen with weather. It's completely unpredictable. But that's our process that we go through each and every time. And once we know, we tell you as quickly as we can tell you. But once again, we don't typically just close out of precaution, because you may want us to do that, but there are a lot of families that won't want us to do that. Sometimes we have situations where that one neighborhood is flooded, and yet we'll come to school and that neighborhood will be very upset with us that, why didn't we close school? My neighborhood is flooded. And we're sympathetic to that, and we will support and not count those students, hold that absence against them. But we can't close school for 66,000 students because, say, 200 students are in a situation where it's hard to get out of their neighborhood. We have to make the big decision for everyone. 66,000 students, 348 square miles. Other things that we have to take into consideration is that all of our employees don't live in Conroe ISD. So there are times when we think, well, all of our roads in Conroe ISD are fine, but if surrounding areas are having a lot of problems, we may not be able to get our staff here, be it teachers or bus drivers, and that may cause us to need to close. Now, the one thing I'll remind you on weather is you're the parent. You always get to make the choice on if school is closed that day for your child. So if you're seeing a weather situation that concerns you and you're not sure about it, but yet we don't close school, it's always your decision. If you choose to keep your child home that day, that's your decision, and you can make that decision, and we understand it completely. It may be based on where you live or just your impression of the weather. We would support you in that. So never forget that you control that. If we close them, then yes, we've made the decision for everybody. But if we don't close the schools, then you still get to make that individual decision for your child, and we support you in that. And never forget that you have that opportunity to do that. I know sometimes anytime we have a closure, social media comments are always interesting. It's impossible for us to make everyone happy. Half the people think we should have been open, half think we should have closed a day earlier. We can't win in that situation. We understand that. We just want to make the best decision we can. But you can also make that individual decision as a parent, and we would encourage you to do so. Let's see. Another great thing that's happened in the last week or so, and you probably got an email, I know we sent one and your campus is probably talking to you, is meal distribution. So the federal government has allowed us now to provide free breakfast and lunch to all students through the month of December, or until the federal funding runs out. So we think it will go through December, where all students get free breakfast and free lunch every day. Now this comes with, there's a lot of benefits that come with this. One, we get to provide meals for all of our students, which is great. But it also allows our lunch lines to move faster, which is safer, right? We don't have a bunch of students bunched up in lines waiting to get food, so we can move it quickly. We also have curbside meals available for pickup for our remote learners, or even other children in the community that just need meals. All of our junior highs are curbside pickup locations, and you can see on the graphic here more information. Now, if you think that you would have qualified for free or reduced lunch anyway, we still need you to complete that form. It's still very important, because when we come back to school in January, these free meals will be gone. And if you've not completed your free and reduced lunch form, then you won't have that access anymore. Also, campuses are provided funding both from the state and federal government and the district based on that free and reduced student population. So if you just don't fill the form out, you're actually going to hurt the funding formula for your school. So if you think you qualify, please still fill the form out. It's important to you, it's important to the school district. But for the next few months, we are going to be able to provide meals for everybody, and that's truly a blessing. Now, if you need more information, you saw on the graphic there, there's a URL in the lower right-hand corner, or you can just go to the Conroe ISD website, go to Departments and Child Nutrition, and you will find all the information that you need about this program on the Child Nutrition website as well. Now, one more plug, if you want to be a part of the Conroe ISD family, we are still hiring bus drivers and substitutes. In this pandemic world in which we're dealing with, we need more bus drivers and we need more substitute teachers. So if you want to be a part of what's going on in Conroe ISD, you want to do your part to help us stay open and continue to serve these kids, consider being a substitute teacher, consider being a bus driver. There's more information on our Conroe ISD website. You can go to the HR website, but we would love to have you. And so if you are interested in either of those two opportunities, please apply. It would be great. Let me see if we have any questions. Let's see. No, I think we are pretty good tonight on questions. If you have questions, once again, our website is open for FAQs. We have a list of FAQs there, or you can submit questions. I would always encourage you to start with your questions at the campus level. They can typically answer them quicker unless it's a very broad subject. They can provide you the best answer. We'll do our best to answer your questions on the district level as well, but the campuses are a great resource to you. Our principals are wonderful. It is Principal Appreciation Month in October, so we We did celebrate our principals today, and hopefully you'll get a chance to celebrate them throughout the month as well. But they're there to answer questions for you and to help you along the way if you have any concerns as well. I want to wish you all just a safe and wonderful long weekend. Hopefully you get a chance to kind of relax and recharge, if you get to spend family time together, and we'll be ready to come back next Tuesday. We enter our second 9 weeks, and we're going to be ready to go, and we'll be running full speed. And we've seen that. We've seen this kind of move forward, but we are now hitting a rhythm, both instructionally and just procedurally in our day, and we want to be ready to hit the ground running for our second semester, or our second grading period, excuse me. So enjoy the weekend, be safe. We'll look forward to seeing you back for the second 9 weeks. I wish you all the very best, and we'll look forward to coming back and having another conversation with you here in the very near future. Thank you.